Cleveland, Ohio. As Kevin Love put it bluntly following practice on Saturday, the Cleveland Cavaliers are facing a must-win Game 4. Down in the series, after blowing a 17-point first-half lead in Game 3, questions have already started to swirl about whether the fourth-seeded Cavaliers are still better than the scrappy fifth-seeded Indiana Pacers, something that seemed to be the case heading into this best-of-7 matchup. But it's the first to 4 wins, and that means head coach Tyronn Lue still has time to make adjustments. Following the Game 1 clunker, Lue changed his starting lineup, putting in Junior Smith and Kyle Korver. It was a wise move that helped fuel Cleveland's lone win in the series. After that narrow victory, given some time to dig into the film, Lue made a few more adjustments. He took Jose Calderon out of the rotation, staggered the minutes between LeBron James and Love, ran offense to attack roaming defender Miles Turner in space, blitzed Indiana star Victor Oladipo relentlessly, and helped ignite Love with some misdirection sets. But once the Pacers countered in the second half, the Cavaliers crumbled and Lue had few in-game answers. That will need to change in Game 4. So, too, will a few other things. Lue has already said Tristan Thompson will get his first action of the series, coming off the bench to bring much-needed toughness. That's one change, and it may work, depending how Lue chooses to use him. Here are a few others Lue can consider. Speed up. When the Cavaliers overhauled the roster at the trade deadline, they raved about the influx of youth and athleticism, giving them an ability to play faster and take advantage of transition opportunities. Following the All-Star break, with the 4 new guys part of the rotation, the Cavs ranked 11th in pace at 100.72. In the first 3 games of this series, the Cavs are playing at a slothy 93.60, which is tied with the Pacers for the last spot of all postseason teams. The game tends to slow down in the playoffs. Half-court execution becomes increasingly more important. But this much? Even Korver mentioned the need to change heading into pivotal Game 4. I think playing with pace is probably the #1 thing, Korver said. I feel like we were just kind of going really slow to develop into our plays, and then not a lot of time to get the shot that we wanted. A lot of shots happening kind of toward the end of the shot clock. A tough one for sure, but the series is far from over. Korver is right. Playing at such a slow pace has prevented the Cavs' offense from getting into any possible secondary actions when the Pacers' suffocating defense stifles the initial set. It's why the Cavs launched a whopping 15 shots with 4 seconds or less on the shot clock in Game 3. Low percentage, late clock shots aren't the best approach. So how can they fix this problem? It's a mindset, Korver said. I think it's something we've got to be really conscious of and really focused on. We did that in the first half. We got a nice lead. We were really aggressive on both ends of the floor. We have to think that way. We have to keep talking about that amongst ourselves, and it's something we can do. The Cavs are also averaging just 8.6 fast break points per game in this series. Given all the athletes and shooters they have, it's not nearly enough. It's also forced them to consistently try to execute against Indiana's set defense. In the past that hasn't been as much of an issue, but this is a much different group. Without much help around James and few consistent creators, the slow down, slug-it-out style better suits the defensive-oriented Pacers. Cutting Jeff Green's minutes a key piece of the regular season rotation. Green got the starting nod in Game 1, a spot Lue, and the coaching staff, felt Green earned because of his versatility, tenacious defense and potential scoring boost, which he showed in the final weeks leading into the playoffs. Starting him backfired. Bringing him off the bench hasn't been any more successful. There's another step Lue can take, removing him from the rotation completely. It's clear this series is about spacing for the Cavs. That's why Lue went with LeBron plus 4 shooters after the Game 1 blowout. It's why he keeps playing Love at center in the starting group. Green restricts Cleveland's offense, giving the Pacers a logical candidate to send help off of. Unless he's making significant contributions at the other end, it's becoming harder to justify him keeping a 15-minute role. Maybe that's the spot Thompson will take Sunday night. After all, the Pacers are treating Green like he's a center. In 3 games against Indiana, Green has the second worst net rating, -22.7, of any player to receive meaningful minutes. In all, the Cavs have been outscored by 27 points in his 55 total minutes. Stay away from a more traditional front court. One of Lou's head-scratching moves came during Friday night's game, as he used Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., Green and James together for 6 minutes. The quintet scored 7 points on 3 of 7 shooting and committed a pair of turnovers while being outscored by 5 points during that brief stretch. The biggest problem was the Nance-Green pairing, which can't continue given the limitations. In this series, the duo has been outscored by 29 points. With them on the floor together, the Cavs have a horrendous 88.6 offensive rating and a generous 120.5 defensive rating. Play one or the other, just not both at the same time. This should be a warning sign for Lou to also avoid any thought of a Thompson-Green combo, or Nance and Thompson on the court at the same time. Free up Love. This is easier said than done. But somehow, someway, Lou needs to design sets to get Love away from Thaddeus Young's vice grip. Love is averaging 14.3 points on 40.5% shooting and 47.1% from beyond the arc. Given his three-point success, it's tempting to have him hover around the perimeter and create space for James and others to attack the rim. But the Cavs have already said they want Love to be much more aggressive. For him, that usually means starting his attack near the paint before drifting outside. Only there's a Young problem he has to solve first. There was an expected outcry to just get Love the ball in the post more often, especially during his disappearing act in the second half Friday night. But Bojan Bogdanovic made that challenging after switching the James-Love actions, and when matched up against Young, the stronger, more athletic player, Love got shoved off his spot. In Game 3, Love found an early rhythm by taking advantage of Domantas Sabonis and Lance Stevenson on switches and back cuts. That's Cleveland's best shot. Because when it's a one-on-one matchup against Young, Love hasn't been able to find success. According to NBA.com's stats, Young has guarded Love on 117 possessions through 3 games. When that's happened, Love has scored 13 total points on 4 of 18, 22.2%. From the field. The Cavs were supposed to have an offensive edge playing Love at the 5 and forcing centers to defend him, only Indiana isn't allowing that. Young is taking the challenge. And he's winning thus far.